What do you do when you find out that the person you loved was sleeping with your best friend? What do you do when the two people you trusted the most in the world both looked you in the eyes and lied, and you had no idea? Tonight, we're not going to pretend that's easy. We're not going to tell you, just forgive and move on. We're going to sit in the truth of that pain. And then together, we're going to find a way forward. Because you deserve a love that doesn't cost you your peace. And tonight, we're going to talk about what that actually looks like. Oscar Wilde once said something I have never forgotten. To love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance. Welcome to Relaunch and Restart. I am your host, Jeffrey Musa. And if this is your first time here, you are right on time. This is the space where we have honest, real, necessary conversations about life, love, healing, and becoming. I am so glad you are here today. Whether you found us because someone shared this video, because the algorithm brought you here, or because something inside you said it was time, welcome. You belong here. Now, if this is your very first time joining us, let me take just a moment to introduce myself properly. My name is Jeffrey Musa. I am a wellness and self-development guide, a storyteller, and the creator of this show, Relaunch and Restart. My work is rooted in one central belief that no matter what you have been through, no matter how broken, lost, or stuck you feel right now, there is always a path forward. Always. And my job, the reason I show up here every single week, is to walk that path with you. I don't speak at you, I speak with you, because I have lived through seasons of my own that required a full relaunch. And everything I share here has been tested in the fire of real life, mine and the lives of the people I have had the privilege of walking alongside. So, if you've been here from the beginning, thank you. And if you're brand new, you picked a good episode to start with. This one is personal. Tonight's episode is one that I have been building up to for a while, and it is a full one. Here is a taste of what we're diving into. To kick us off, we're going deep on self-love and boundaries, not as concepts, but as the actual foundation that every healthy relationship is built on. What does it really mean to love yourself first? What does it look like to hold a boundary when you're afraid of losing someone? We're also going to talk about heartbreak, real gut-wrenching heartbreak, and what to actually do with the pain when it shows up at your door. Then, And this one I'm particularly excited about. We're launching our very first shared stories segment. Tonight we hear from Ruby, who sent us one of the most heartbreaking and courageous letters I have ever read. And I'm going to respond to her on air the way I wish someone had responded to me when I was in the fire. And to close us out, we have our Canvas of Courage segment, where we talk about why art therapy, movement, fitness, and nervous system regulation are not luxuries. They are survival tools for your mental and emotional health. This is a full and rich episode. So do yourself a favor, get comfortable, grab a drink, and stay with me all the way to the end. The best parts are waiting for you. This makes me think of what Rumi, the great Sufi mystic and poet, said, and it has been sitting with me as I prepared for tonight. The wound is the place where the light enters you. If you're new here, hit subscribe right now and ring that notification bell so you never miss an episode. This community is growing and healing together, and we want you in it. Let me be very clear about something right from the beginning. Self-love is not arrogance. It is not narcissism. It is not selfishness. It is not choosing yourself at the expense of others. Self-love is the practice of treating yourself with the same care, compassion, and respect that you offer freely to the people you love the most. Think about that for a second. When your best friend is going through pain, you show up for them. You listen. You don't judge. You make space. You remind them of their worth. Self-love is doing that for yourself consistently, even when you have made mistakes, even when you're not at your best, even when someone has hurt you and you're tempted to blame yourself. The Buddha taught something about this that I return to again and again. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. Here is what I want you to understand. Every relationship you have, every single one, will only ever be as healthy as the relationship you have with yourself. If you do not know your own worth, you will accept scraps and call them love. If you do not know your own needs, you will shape yourself around everyone else's needs and call it kindness. If you do not believe you deserve better, you will stay in places that are costing you your health, your peace, your future. Self-love is not where you end things and others begin. It is the bedrock. It is the thing that makes it possible to love generously, to set limits that protect both you and the other person, to walk away when something is wrong and stay when something is good. Without it, you are building every relationship on sand. And now, let's explore what boundaries really are. Boundaries are one of the most misunderstood concepts in modern relationships. Let me break this down. A boundary is not a wall. A boundary is not punishment. A boundary is not a threat. A boundary is a declaration of what you need to feel safe, respected, and whole. And it is an invitation for the other person to meet you there. Healthy limits protect the relationship. They create structure. They create trust. They create a space where both people can show up fully because they know where the edges are. When you have no limits, you don't have more love. You have more resentment. You have more disappointment. You have more pain because you've allowed the other person to operate without a map and then felt hurt when they stumbled into territory they didn't know was yours. Brené Brown, the researcher and author who has spent decades studying vulnerability and courage, said something about this that I think is absolutely perfect. Daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves even when we risk disappointing others. Tonight, we're going to see exactly what happens when boundaries are absent through Ruby's story. But before we get there, let me ask you something. What is one boundary, just one, that you know you need but have been afraid to set? I want you to hold that question in your heart as we move through this episode. By the end, I think you'll know exactly what to do with it. Drop a comment below right now. What is the one thing about boundaries or self-love that nobody ever taught you growing up? I read every single comment and I want to know what your experience has been. Okay, we are really getting into it today, and I love it. But before we go any deeper, I want you to take a little breather with me. Go grab a glass of water, grab a notebook. If you have one nearby, you're going to want to write some of this down. And if you're wearing headphones or a hearing device, just make sure you're comfortable, because where we are going next requires your full presence. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch that scroll, because what is coming up next is our very first shared story. And I promise you, it is worth every second of your time. I will be right here when you get back. A few weeks ago, I put out an invitation. I asked you, our community, to share your stories with me. Real stories, messy ones. The kind you don't post on social media. The kind that live in the quiet parts of you. And you responded, and I am grateful, more than I can say. Today, we read our very first shared story from a woman I'll call Ruby. Ruby, thank you for your courage. This letter takes real bravery to write, and it takes even more to allow it to be shared. You are not alone. This community sees you. And now, here is Ruby's letter in her own words. Dear Jeffrey, I have been watching your channel for a few months now, and I finally feel like this might be a safe enough space to share what I've been going through. I'm not even sure I've fully processed it myself, but here it is. I have been with my boyfriend for 2.5 years. We had plans, real plans. We talked about the future. We had names for our children. I know how that sounds now, but at the time, it felt like the most solid thing in my life. 3 months ago, I found out he had been sleeping with my closest friend, someone I have known since secondary school, someone I called on my worst days, someone I had introduced him to, trusted him around, welcomed into my home. I didn't find out through a dramatic confrontation. I found out because she sent me a voice note meant for him. Can you believe that? She realized immediately and called me back sobbing and apologizing. He denied it for almost a week while looking at me in the eyes every day. Then when I had the receipts, he admitted it and told me it didn't mean anything. I don't know what to do with that. What do you do when the people you trusted most are the ones who hurt you most? I feel stupid. I feel ugly. I feel like there's something fundamentally wrong with me, like I wasn't enough, like I'll never be enough. I've been isolating myself. I don't eat properly. I don't sleep. I cry when I'm in the shower so nobody hears me. And the worst part is that some days I miss him, and that makes me feel even worse about myself. I don't know how to come back from this. I don't even know who I am without this relationship. Please help. Ruby. Ruby, first of all, thank you. What you just shared is not small. It took courage to write it. And I want you to know I did not read it lightly. I sat with your words. I let them matter. Let me speak very directly to you because I think you deserve directness more than comfort right now. You are not stupid. You are not ugly. And there's absolutely nothing fundamentally wrong with you. You were betrayed by two people simultaneously. People who had access to your trust and chose to abuse it. That is not a reflection of your worth. That is a reflection of their character. I need you to hear this. What they did is not something you caused. It is not something you deserved. It is not something that could have been prevented by being more beautiful, more attentive, more loving. Betrayal is a choice, and they made it full stop. Now, about missing him. Ruby, I want you to listen carefully. Missing someone who hurt you does not make you weak. It makes you human. The heart does not fall out of love the moment it is wounded. Love and hurt live in the same house for a season. That is normal. That is grief. And what you are experiencing is grief. The grief of losing a relationship, a friendship, a future you had imagined, and a version of safety you believed in. Give yourself permission to grieve all of that. Don't rush yourself. Don't shame yourself for crying in the shower. Cry. Let it out. Your body knows what it needs. But here is what I also want to say to you, the isolation, the not eating, not sleeping, that concerns me. Your body is your instrument. It needs tending, even when your heart is breaking. Especially then. Please reach out to someone you trust, a counselor, a family member, a friend outside of that situation. You are not made to carry this alone. And as for who you are without this relationship, Ruby, you are about to find out. And I promise you, what you find is going to surprise you, because the version of you that existed before you bent yourself to fit into that relationship, she's still there. She's been waiting. She's ready to be rediscovered. You are not at the end of your story. You are the beginning of a different, truer one. With care and respect, Jeffrey. I've always believed that sometimes the person you take a bullet for ends up being the one behind the gun. That's not your fault. That's their choice. If you have a story you would like to share for a future episode, send it to stories@jeffreymusa.co.ke. Every story matters. Every experience has the power to heal someone else. Your letter could be the thing someone else needs to hear today. Please note, stories are only ever shared with your full consent. Your identity will always be protected. We will never share your real name or any identifying details. What we will share is your story, because your story in the right hands becomes someone else's lifeline. That was a heavy one, and I know it. I felt it too, reading it to you. If something in Ruby's story touched something in you, that is not a coincidence. That is recognition. And recognition is the beginning of healing. We're going to take a little breather right now. And when we come back, I'm going to give you the most practical, honest tools I know for navigating heartbreak and disappointment. Not the cliches, not the time heals all wounds comfort. Real, grounded, actionable things you can start doing today. Don't move. We will be right back with more. And the next part of this conversation might be the most useful thing you hear all week. Now, here's the truth about heartbreak that nobody tells you. Heartbreak is not just emotional. Neuroscience tells us it is physical. When we lose a significant relationship, the brain responds in ways that mirror actual physical withdrawal. Your stress hormones spike. Your sleep patterns are disrupted. Your appetite changes. Your ability to concentrate is affected. This is why heartbreak can feel so overwhelming. You are not dramatic. Your nervous system is in genuine distress. And the most important thing you can do in that season is not pretend it isn't happening. The novelist Orhan Pamuk wrote something that I find immensely comforting in those moments. He said, the human heart has a way of making itself large enough to contain even the most unbearable grief. Here are some things that I want to offer you, not as a rigid list, but as a roadmap. Take what resonates, come back to the rest when you're ready. To begin with, and I cannot say this strongly enough, feel it, don't flee it. The pain is information. It is telling you what mattered, what you valued, what you deserve. Don't numb it with alcohol, with staying perpetually busy, with jumping into the next relationship before you've properly processed this one. Sit with it. Let it speak. Also, and this one is crucial, audit the story you are telling yourself about why this happened. There's a narrative forming in your mind right now. And if that narrative ends with, because I'm not enough, I want you to question it aggressively. What are the actual facts? What is the story you would tell a friend who was sitting in your exact situation? Give yourself that same grace. The other thing I'd encourage you to do is to rebuild your routine. It doesn't have to be grand. Small, consistent actions. Waking up at the same time, eating a proper meal, taking a walk, getting outside. These anchor your nervous system when absolutely everything else feels chaotic. Structure is a form of self-love. Next, and this one people often skip, grieve your future, not just your past. When a relationship ends, you don't only lose the person, you lose the future you had imagined together. The holiday plans, the inside jokes, the shared dreams. Name those losses specifically. They deserve acknowledgement too. You are allowed to mourn what could have been. And last but not least, please let your community hold you. You are not designed for isolation. You are designed for belonging. Let's save people into the pain. Vulnerability heals faster in the presence of genuine love than it ever does in silence and alone. I've always believed this, and I say it as often as I can. You don't have to rebuild overnight. Bricks are laid one at a time. Like this video right now if this is landing for you. Every like tells the algorithm that this content matters, and it helps us reach someone else who might need it today. If you've ever been through heartbreak, this one's for them too. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground together today. Self-love, boundaries, Ruby's story, heartbreak, and we are still not done. Because the best segment is still ahead of us. If you have been sitting for a while, feel free to stretch. Seriously, roll your shoulders, take a breath, maybe refill that water. I will wait, because what is coming next, the canvas of courage, is a segment I genuinely love. And I want you to be fully present for it. We will be right back. Don't go away. We talk a lot on this channel about what's happening in your mind and in your heart. Tonight, I want to talk about what's happening in your body, because emotional healing is physical work. And if we're only addressing the cognitive and emotional layers, we are leaving an enormous piece of the puzzle behind. So let's break it down further and give you a clearer picture of what to expect in this segment and how each of these practices can practically show up in your life. Let me begin with art therapy. Now, when I say art therapy, I want you to immediately release any image you might have of sitting in a clinical room with a therapist and a canvas. That is not what I'm talking about. Art therapy, in the way I'm inviting you into it, is simply about giving yourself a language for what words cannot yet hold. Here's what I mean. When you have experienced betrayal, trauma, grief, the parts of your brain that store those experiences are not always accessible to conversation. You can talk about what happened and still feel completely stuck because the experience lives somewhere deeper than language. But it is accessible through color, through shape, through the movement of a pen across a page. Art allows the body to express what the mind hasn't yet been able to articulate. Research consistently shows that expressive arts, painting, journaling, collage, even music reduce cortisol levels, lower anxiety, and create new neural pathways that support emotional resilience. And the beautiful thing, you do not need a therapist's studio to begin. You need a journal, a box of colors, 10 quiet minutes. That is your starting point. Thomas Merton, the theologian and mystic, once wrote that art enables us to find ourselves and lose ourselves at the same time. I find that extraordinarily true and extraordinarily healing. And now, another exciting practice, body mapping. This one I am particularly passionate about because not enough people know it exists. Body mapping is a form of expressive art therapy where you trace the outline of your own body or work within a body outline and then use color, image, word, and symbol to map where you feel things inside that body. Where do you feel the grief? Is it in your chest, your throat, your stomach? Where does the anxiety sit? Where does the love live? Where is the wound? And where is the strength? Body mapping was originally developed as a therapeutic tool for people living with chronic illness, but it has since been used powerfully in trauma recovery, grief work, and emotional healing journeys of all kinds. It is one of the most honest conversations you can have with yourself because the body does not lie, and when you put it on paper, something shifts. You can do this on a large sheet of paper, in a journal, or even digitally. There is no wrong way. There is only your truth, expressed in a form that is entirely yours. Now, let's talk about movement and fitness for mental health. Exercise is one of the most evidence-based interventions for depression and anxiety that we have. And I want to be clear, I am not saying this in a toxic positivity, just go for a run and you'll be fine kind of way. I mean it biochemically, and I want you to understand why. When you move your body with intention, you release endorphins, serotonin, dopamine, and something called BDNF, a brain-derived protein that literally supports the growth of new neurons. At a cellular level, you are building new capacity to feel good, think clearly, and regulate your emotions. Your body is actively rebuilding itself through movement. When you are heartbroken, the temptation is to become still, to curl up, to stop, to disappear into the duvet. And while rest absolutely has its place, movement is medicine. Even a 20-minute walk changes your biochemistry. Even dancing alone in your kitchen counts. Even stretching for 10 minutes before bed is enough to begin shifting the chemistry of how you feel. Find what moves you, literally, and do it consistently, not perfectly, consistently. And finally, nervous system regulation. This one is the missing conversation. I say it is the missing conversation because I genuinely do not hear it enough when people talk about heartbreak and emotional recovery. Everyone talks about the mind. Fewer people talk about the nervous system. And yet, this is where so much of the suffering lives. When you have been hurt, especially by people you trusted, your nervous system goes into a state of dysregulation. It becomes hypervigilant. It starts scanning for danger everywhere, even in safe spaces. Your threat response fires even when you're not in any actual danger, because it learned through the betrayal that safe can become unsafe without warning. This is why after a relationship like Ruby's, you might feel anxious in perfectly normal situations, or completely numb when you expected to feel something, or find yourself reacting with an intensity that even surprises you. You are not broken. You are not overreacting. Your nervous system is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It is protecting you. It is just stuck in protection mode. Nervous system regulation practices, things like breathwork, cold exposure, yoga, somatic therapy, even humming and singing, these help move your system out of fight or flight and back into a state where healing is actually possible. Simple things like 4-7-8 breathing, slow, deliberate exhales through the mouth, even shaking your body the way an animal instinctively does after a frightening experience, these are not soft alternative wellness practices. They are grounded in polyvagal theory and decades of rigorous neuroscience research. They work. Your body has been through something real. It deserves the same tenderness and care that you would give to a dear friend who had been wounded. I am always moved by what the psychiatrist Bessel van der Kolk spent his life trying to tell us, that the body keeps the score. And I would like to add to that, the body also holds the key to the healing. Share this episode with someone who needs it. You know who they are. They are going through something right now, and they need to hear that they are not alone. Be the person who shows up for them today, just by pressing share. Before I let you go tonight, I want to say something directly to anyone who came into this episode carrying pain. Whether you're Ruby, or someone who has been Ruby, or someone who is afraid of becoming Ruby, this is for you. You are not too much. You are not enough. You are a whole, worthy, complex human being, and you deserve relationships that reflect that. Not relationships that ask you to shrink, to ignore red flags, to silence your needs, to accept less than what your soul knows it deserves. Self-love is not the destination, it's the vehicle. It's what carries you through the disappointments without losing yourself. It's what holds the boundary when your heart is tempted to collapse. It's what gets you up in the morning and says, I still matter. I'm still worth the work. Maya Angelou, a woman who lived through more fire than most of us can imagine, said something I carry with me everywhere. You alone are enough. You have nothing to prove to anybody. And this community, this is a relaunch community. We believe that no matter what chapter you've just come through, the next one can be different, better, truer, but only if you do the work. And you cannot do the work if you're running on empty, neglecting your body, isolating your heart, and skipping the hard conversations. So tonight's homework, yes, I'm giving you homework, is this. Write down one boundary you need to set. Name it. Write why it matters. And tomorrow, take one small step toward honoring it. You deserve a love that does not require you to disappear. Start by refusing to disappear from yourself. And I'll leave you with something that I have always believed, something I'd put on a wall if I could. In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity, and in the middle of your story lies a strength you haven't fully met yet. I am Jeffrey Musa. This has been Relaunch and Restart. I'll see you next week. And until then, be gentle with yourself. Join this community of people who are choosing growth over stagnation, healing over hiding. Hit subscribe and the bell so you never miss an episode. If this episode moved you, touched you, or gave you something you needed today, leave a like. It takes 1 second and it means everything. Tell me, what is one thing from tonight's episode that you are taking away? I am reading every single response. Send this to someone who is going through heartbreak right now. You might not know what to say to them. Let this episode say it. Have a story of your own? Send it to stories@jeffreymusa.co.ke. The next shared story segment could be yours, and your experience could be the light that guides someone else home. Your story will only ever be shared with your explicit consent. Your real name and identity will always remain private. We protect that absolutely. What gets shared is your experience, anonymized with care, so that it can do what stories do best: heal, connect, and remind someone else that they are not alone. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.